Welcome back to Yang Daily. First off, a quick reminder that with Yang Gang's over 200,000 active members, we could save over 600,000 hours per day for phone banking if they were all listeners. And every day counts. This is why I started the podcast, but I need your help spreading it. The faster, the better. Let's get to the news. First up has to be the donation goal. We are 6 hours out from the deadline, and we still have $1 million to go. Yang has been pretty clear in his emails that missing this goal by any wide margin would seriously hurt the campaign's ability to compete, and it is vital that we stay competitive in this race, Yang Gang. We still have a chance to win this thing if we can hang in there. The other campaigns are mercurial. They won't last, and they can't beat Trump. The lower voter turnout in Iowa makes it more clear than ever that anyone other than Yang is likely to lose the general election. So if that is important to you, you need to dig deep. If eradicating poverty is important to you, you need to dig deep. If uniting the country is important to you, you need to dig deep. If returning democratic power to the people is important to you, you need to dig deep. If getting ahead of the impending technological disasters heading our way is important to you, you need to dig deep. If ushering in a new age of prosperity and innovation by mitigating the human potential that is currently being squandered by wage slavery is important to you, you need to dig deep. If you don't have the means, ask someone who does to donate for you, and check out the creative fundraising options linked below. Whether we're pushing for a Yang presidency this cycle or next, every bit of exposure counts. We cannot fail Andrew when he's doing so much for us. But I'm going to level with you. The real reason we have to hit this goal is because Zach and Matt announced that they will be live streaming a gaming session with Andrew, playing Mario Kart, Just Dance, NBA 2K, and Rocket League, but only if we hit the goal by the deadline. We cannot miss an opportunity to see Yang gaming and dancing. Make my life complete. They're also offering a copy of Yang's book signed by Andrew, and more importantly by Big Coat Guy, aka Zach Grauman, to anyone who can donate the max of $2,800 using their link below. The phone banking goal for today is 200,000 calls, and the giveaways and live streams continue. Don't miss out on the last day of this epic, record-breaking movement. Cesar Marquez of the Humanity Forward Fund tweeted pictures today of his house loaded up to the rafters with Yang materials, namely 10,000 brochures, 400 books, and 100 yard signs, that he needs help distributing across Nevada. If you're in the area, please get in contact with him at the link below and help him bring the wave. New York, District 15, be aware that you have a congressional candidate named Shavona Newsom running in support of the Freedom Dividend, and that she seems pretty darn cool. Check out a clip of her speaking in the links below, and check her out if you live in the area. In our ongoing Democratic comedy of tragedies, the Nevada Democrats are now telling us that they will not be using an app for recording, calculating, and reporting their caucus results. They will instead be using a pre-installed application on an iPad accessed through an icon, something that the common folk know as an app. I think you're missing the point a bit, Nevada. The problem isn't using apps. The problem is whether they work and are secure and are transparent. Starting off by lying, with extremely weak lies at that, is not a step in the right direction. Democracy help us. Moving on, today's phone banking shout-out goes to Stu and crew. Cyrus Namani was good enough to give us a brief video of his 7 Yang Gang friends, including Stu Arbery, aka Ghosts for Yang, having a phone banking party, and it was beautiful to see. I can't wait for UBI to supercharge this kind of civic engagement. Thank you to everyone who's phone banking, canvassing, or otherwise volunteering. You are all heroes of a new age. Make America Think Harder released the second part of his anime rendering of the Yang campaign, and it does not disappoint. Many influencers in the Yang Gang are represented, including Evelyn, Glover, Chappelle, and Musk. Check it out below. Scott Santons was a guest on Annette the Peacemaker's podcast today, discussing UBI with a panel. Always good to hear more from our champion of UBI. In today's episode of Yang Media Blackout, CNN excluded Yang from a graphic showing all of the candidates who are campaigning in New Hampshire today, despite Yang doing 6 events there. They followed it up with split screens of video from each of the candidates' events, again, excluding Yang. At this point, I think I feel the same way about liberal media as I feel about Trump, which is that the frequency of their crimes is exhausting me. Then again, fake news is one thing I could no longer disagree with Trump on, nor the corruption of the Democratic establishment. On the other hand, wonders never cease as MSNBC actually reported something about Yang today, tweeting out a clip of his speech at Dartmouth. It's quite a candid clip of Yang speaking on how the myth of meritocracy and our economic incentives have perverted our goals in life so that we work tirelessly for things that we often don't really care about. This is one of the most important reasons that we need UBI to unlock the potential of people to pursue their own dreams rather than the approved menu of dreams handed to us by the free market. Lowell Sun's Radio Road podcast had Yang on for a brief, lighthearted interview. Nothing really new, but the hosts were very appreciative of his value in the race. After the interview, they praised him at length on his ability to unify the country by respecting people and incorporating their values into his policies, as well as the incredible enthusiasm he engenders and the importance of UBI. An interesting article was released the other day that we didn't have time to get to, written by David Deming of the maleficent New York Times. It digs into the broad changes that AI and robotics have been making to our economy and the nature of employment, echoing Yang's platform very closely. Deming explains how, for example, companies like Amazon have been putting physical retail out of business and moving that business to e-commerce, shifting employment from retail to driving. He notes how this is not only a disruption that leaves many workers unable to make the transition, but also that the new jobs are much more vulnerable and demanding than the ones they replace. The drivers are gig workers, not employees, meaning that they get no benefits and have little stability as far as job security, in addition to often working much longer hours and being asked for much higher productivity with no overtime pay. This is a fairly representative example of automation's current effect in general, replacing stable, high compensation jobs with unstable, low compensation service jobs, with 94% of new jobs being gig, contract, or temp. This, of course, is not something the much vaunted headline unemployment numbers care to distinguish. The author also notes that those new driving jobs are going to soon be replaced as well by self-driving vehicles, delivery bots, and drones, all of which are being feverishly advanced in the tech sector right now for the huge cost savings opportunity in eliminating human labor. When that happens, the jobs won't have just shifted to lower quality for the industry, they'll be gone altogether. This trend will continue in every industry, of automation pushing humans further and further down the economic ladder until it zeroes them out entirely. Deming rightfully elucidates that this isn't a problem of tech, it's a problem of politics and economic regulation. Automation will be a great boon to humanity if we only adapt our governance to accommodate the evolving circumstances, a point that Yang has been making from the start. If we continue to apply 20th century rules to a 21st century economy, disaster is the inevitable result. Deming concludes, quote, "We will need to help people pivot more easily to the jobs of the future. This means flexible benefits, including health care, that are not tied to one employer, and policies that give a measure of economic security to workers who want to be retrained and learn new careers." End quote. Sounds like universal health insurance. Sounds like UBI and vocational education. Sounds like Deming better be voting for Andrew Yang. I had to mention new Yang Gang member, Moonman, who tweeted today, quote, "I'm on day 2 of my Andrew Yang binge. I've learned more from his interview with Rogan, Shapiro, and Fox than any liberal outlet. Also, Crystal Ball and The Hill are awesome. Yang Gang, can you help me find more information from the left?" End quote. It's very true. You can learn more about the true state of our economy and democracy from watching a few hours of Yang than from watching mainstream media for years. Also, sadly true that you can get more from Yang on conservative networks than liberal ones. Quite frankly, most liberals think that conservative networks are the ones trying to sabotage Democrats, when, as it turns out, it's the liberal media who are doing the most to keep Trump in office. Enjoy your journey down the rabbit hole, Moonman. You'll never be the same again. Today's daily Yang policy is the restoration of voting rights to felons. Yang would restore voting rights to ex-felons and the currently incarcerated, with the exception of murderers, and prohibits states from denying ex-felons the right to vote. Why take this stance? There are a number of good reasons. 1. Felony disenfranchisement exacerbates discrimination. In general, criminals are often the people for whom society is not working. Denying them participation in changing that system then makes little sense. In particular, it exacerbates racial disparities as well. 1 in 13 Black Americans have lost the right to vote versus 1 in 56 white Americans. When minorities are denied voting rights, discrimination against them only worsens. 2. State laws vary wildly as far as reenfranchisement is concerned, with some never disenfranchising felons and others permanently disenfranchising them, and everything in between. This patchwork of state laws is inherently unfair as citizens are treated differently depending on their location. 3, our justice system should be built around rehabilitation. That means turning our criminals back into citizens, and being a citizen means you should be able to vote. And number 4, it will make us safer. Studies have shown that ex-felons who vote are half as likely to reoffend. Makes sense. We got the right to representation in the American Revolution, and we haven't gone to war with England a single time since then. Today's Yang Daily 10 task is, of course, phone banking to New Hampshire. There is no better way to help than to speak directly to voters. If you don't like the idea of trying to convince someone on the phone, you can do data collection, which only involves asking a couple simple questions to help canvassers follow up. Quick, simple, and easy. And if you're one of many international Yang Gang, you can still phone bank. Every one of these early states is another opportunity for us to beat expectations and break out of the box that the corrupt media wants to bury us in. Let's make our voices heard, Yang Gang. And that's our Yang News for today. Get everyone you know to donate so we can see Yang dance his gamer heart out. Grab one of those signed books if you can. Join our new Facebook campaign. Check your local events. Check out the anime and meritocracy videos. Check out Scott's podcast. Help us meet our phone banking goal. Don't forget the phone banking giveaways and live streams. And get on those volunteer leaderboards. As always, please share this podcast so we can save people as much time as possible for volunteering. Spend some of your own saved time volunteering. And don't forget to Yang Daily.